Hi friends, welcome back to SQL with Ravimartha. This is SQL Server tutorial series for beginners. So in today's session, we'll see what are constraints in SQL. So this is part 6 of this video series. So let's understand what are constraints in SQL. As the name suggests, constraint is a rule that is enforced on a table or a column. So basically it's a restriction on a particular column or a table. So these rules are checked before the data is being inserted into a table. So if the data is not satisfying the constraint, then the data will be rejected and it will not be loaded to the target table. So basically it will reject the inconsistent data. So if the data is satisfying the constraint, then it will allow the data to insert into that particular table. For example, so if we have a column that is phone number, so we expect a numerical value in that phone number column. Suppose if the user is trying to enter a text column, we will define a constraint on that particular column, and then that will ensure that it will prompt the user, or it will say the user that you should enter a number in this particular column. So that's why here we will use one of the constraints. So that's why the constraint will help you to give the right data getting inserted into a table. And constraints are used to enforce data integrity in a database. You will ensure that the right data will be entered into a table or a column. Also, constraints helps in ensuring the data accuracy and reliability in a database. So let's see what are the constraints in SQL. So the types of constraints in SQL are, the first one is not null constraint. This constraint is applied to a column. Once you define a column as a not null, then it will not allow any null values to that particular column. Even though if you are trying to insert a null value, it will say that cannot insert a null value to this particular column. So that's why the not null will help you to reject any null values entering into that particular column of the table. Next one is unique. As the name suggests, unique in the sense, so it will ensure that that particular column will have unique values. So it will also allow one null value, since null also treats as a one of the unique values. So it will allow only one null value, and the rest all it will be distinct values. So that's how the unique constraint will help you to maintain unique records in a column. Then the primary key. As the name suggests, the primary key will help you to identify every row of a table uniquely, and it will also does not allow any null values, whereas the unique or the unique key will allow one null value. You can also refer to my previous video where I have explained about this primary key and unique key. The next one is foreign key. As the name suggests, the foreign key enforces relationship between two tables. For example, we can take an example of a TBL department table in which we have department ID and department name. And also in TBL employee, we have employee ID, employee name, and the department ID. And the department ID in TBL employee table references to the TBL department ID. So the employee table can have only the department IDs which are already present in TBL department. So it will bind those two tables. The next one is the check constraint. As the name suggests, check means it will, before entering, it will check whether the values which are entering into that particular column are within that particular range or not. And that's how it will restrict the values that are being inserted into that particular column based on the condition. Basically, it will check the condition before entering the data. The next one is default. So the default constraint, it will specify a default value when there is no value provided to that particular column. So if you are not mentioning anything, it will give the default value. For example, if the record created date, if they are not mentioning any specific date, it will take, we can say get date as a default date. So even though if you are not providing that value to that column, it will stamp it as get date. And if this will be stamped only in case you are not providing. If you are providing null as the value to the default column, it will still be populated as null. Only in case if you are not mentioning any value to the column, it will stamp it as default value. So these are the different constraints available in SQL. We can also create user defined constraints in SQL. So in the next session, we will start creating a database, creating a table, and we'll go in detail about each and every clauses of SQL. So I'll create a separate video for each of the constraints separately once we are comfortable with the writing the basic SQL. And you can also visit my blog, which is SQL with Ravimartha blogspot.com. So in this I have created a series, SQL Server tutorial series for beginners, and I'm documenting all the videos which I have prepared. Here you can see I have given a YouTube link as well as the text version of link. Suppose example, if you want to go through the first one, you can just click on the YouTube, that will take you to the YouTube video link. And if you want a text version of this, just click on this and it will open the blog for you. And this is the session 1 which I have taken. Similarly, you can go ahead and check for the rest of the sessions. So this is the index page for the SQL Server tutorial series for beginners. So this is the second video which I have taken for the installation of the Microsoft SQL Server, right? So you can find the text version of the videos which I have prepared. And you can also see the creating, deletion and restoration of the database. So this is the text version which I have placed here. So each and every SQL which I have created or used in the videos, right, I have placed it on my blog. So there are different so all the material is available here, so you can just go ahead and check it out here, right? And thank you for listening. Have a great day. Thank you for your support. Thank you very much. Bye.